It's only been 3 months since Francis Ngannou won the UFC heavyweight title in absolutely devastating fashion against Stipe Miocic. Knocked off the heavyweight GOAT. A new era is upon us. And just 3 months later, it appears that Ngannou and the UFC are at odds. What's up? Fred Richani, TSC, your home for MMA news updates, interviews, and everything in between. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I saw the story on ESPN. I cannot believe what I am reading, what I am seeing. I've expected not much from Dana White over the years, but this is just bad. So let's get to the news, and then we'll talk about why this is a problem. So from ESPN MMA, UFC is adding an interim heavyweight title fight between Derrick Lewis and Ciryl Gane to UFC 265 on August 7th, Dana White told Brett Okamoto of ESPN. The promotion tried to book Lewis against Francis Ngannou, but Ngannou informed them he wouldn't be ready to defend his title by August. Now, from what I understand, Ngannou went to see family in Cameroon. He's the first Cameroonian world champion. It's a big moment for him. He got not one, not two, but 3 African fighters as world champions. It's a great moment for the sport. It should be celebrated. They should be planning UFC Africa once it's safe. But no. Instead, it appears that it looks like some retaliation from Dana White, some not so subliminal retaliation for Ngannou speaking up about not only wanting the Jon Jones super fight, which he should get, which Jones should get, but it also seems like retribution because Ngannou had the gall to speak up about fighter pay, which he's correct about. And yes, I understand that when he was speaking up about fighter pay, he's talking about the Paul brothers, who are massive, massive stars, known worldwide. But his point stands. I mean, MMA fighters should be making more. And if you want to argue, oh, well, these guys, there's a pay scale, blah, blah, okay. But the fact that your world champions aren't making a minimum of $1 million compared to boxing, compared to other sports, I mean, this is a rhetorical question, but does Dana White and the UFC, do they not have any shame? Like, if my champion, disclosed pay, whatever that is, was making, I don't know, let's just throw out a number, $300K, $400K, even $500K, and I made millions of dollars on a pay-per-view, yeah, I'd be embarrassed. I'd be ashamed because you want to compare yourself to all these big sports leagues, yet you barely pay your fighters remotely what they're worth. And it's not just Ngannou. It's Jon Jones. And yeah, you could say a lot about Jon Jones. Maybe he's not a good person. I don't know. But the bottom line is the dude has been great. Well, for the bottom line of the UFC, and yes, they've shielded him from some criticism in the past. Yes, they've protected him here and there. Okay, but it went both ways, all right? The guy clearly had some issues over the years that they had zero problem exploiting for their own gain. But now that he wants to cash out after a decade of dominance, you know what? Jon Jones doesn't want to fight. They did the same thing with GSP. Oh, GSP doesn't want to fight. GSP doesn't want to fight. Well, no, he just wants to be paid what he's worth. And yes, GSP made a lot of money, but he should have been paid even more money given the value he brought to the UFC, especially for the Canadian market, which UFC squandered in recent years after GSP retired. But that's a whole nother vlog for a whole nother day. And if GSP doesn't want to fight anymore and he's retired, why did you not let him fight Oscar De La Hoya in a boxing match under the Triller banner? So anyway, it gets worse. It somehow gets worse and even more appalling. So let's get to some quotes here. So let's get to the positives. Derrick Lewis, as he should be happy, and his manager, they released a statement. As a team, we're really excited for the opportunity and that all the work put in over the years, we're confident that Derrick will be leaving with his belt. And then Ciryl's manager, Fernand Lopez, said, "This is the type of challenge that we love in MMA Factory, how to finish Derrick Lewis without getting caught by that bomb he possesses. Ciryl and myself are so excited for this one." Okay, that's all positive. Great news, right? Until you read what Mr. Ngannou's agent says. And this is from Ngannou's agent, Markel Martin, via Brett Okamoto. "This comes as a complete shock. To make an interim title so soon, if you look at the history of the division, it comes as a surprise. Francis is just now returning to the States to begin training, and he won the title just 3 months ago. We're unsure of what the reasoning is behind this, but we hope to get clarity soon and figure out something with the UFC soon. At the end of the day, they're in control of these decisions. You have a guy in Francis Ngannou who could be the modern version of Mike Tyson in MMA. I mean, he pretty much is in terms of some of his fights ending so quickly. And the guy has improved. He's busted his ass. He utilized the company resources like the Performance Institute. He's done his thing. He got his ass kicked in the Miocic fight, the first one, although he did kick some serious ass in that one too, but gassed out. And he went back, rebuilt himself, earned his way to another title shot, got the win in devastating, legendary, highlight reel knockout fashion. I mean, that knockout will give Miocic nightmares the rest of his life and other fighters that will have to fight Francis Ngannou. This guy was homeless at one point, started from nothing. He is an inspiration, not just to people in Africa, but people all around the world. He's as good of an ambassador as you could get in any sport, not just MMA, any sport. And this is how you repay him? He waited patiently for months and months and months for Cormier and Miocic to finish their trilogy. Months and months and months. And it just kept going and going and going and going. And he finally gets his shot, has a big knockout finish, speaks positively about his journey and overcoming the odds. This is a guy that could be a real role model. He is a real role model. And you want to punish him by doing an interim title fight. Just absolutely ridiculous. None of the other 24 titles that the UFC's created out of thin air are available. You had to do the heavyweight title. Man, I don't know what to say. I guess I'll just say this. I'm happy that Francis Ngannou has a cameo in Fast 9 or F9 or whatever the hell the new Fast and Furious is with John Cena. I hope that Ngannou continues to recognize his worth and stands up for himself. And that his agent and his management stand up for him. I hope that he can get more money out of the UFC because he truly deserves it. I hope Jon Jones can get more money out of the UFC because he truly deserves it. And yes, Jon Jones again. Transgressions outside of the cage, not great. But, I mean, fair is fair. And what UFC is doing to fighters, whether it be undercard guys you never heard of, to even their top stars, is unfair. And yes, even Conor McGregor, who I'm not the biggest fan of, okay, there's no doubt he is the sport's biggest draw for a reason. But he's also a guy that most likely, if you really looked at the books, is also shockingly underpaid. So, yeah, something needs to change. I don't know if it will. I do give John Fitch, Nate Quarry, Kung Lee, a bunch of the other fighters credit for getting the courts to eventually open up UFC's books, to possibly under discovery, to possibly unionize or at least establish some semblance of the Ali Act in MMA, which is great. You know, that they are doing a great thing for fighters, assuming this continues to move forward, because, man, UFC is just overstepping its boundaries. Never mind the fact that I'm sure there's a bunch of mark agents and representatives and managers that claim to be in the best interest of the fighter that are not. I'm not saying that's in Ngannou's case, but that is the case with a lot of MMA fighters. But, man, I don't know. Something just needs to change. And the fact that, I don't know. I guess if you're ESPN, you paid for UFC, you don't really care. You know, as long as they give you some fights and content, you don't really care. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're a fighter like Ngannou, if you're Jon Jones, you skip over Dana White. You go straight to ESPN. I don't know how you do that. Maybe one of these power brokers or whatever, and get a higher powered sports agent. Get a meeting with Bob Iger's team. I don't know. But something's got to change, because this is just ridiculous. And hey, for Mr. Ciryl, for Mr. He's Okay, Derrick Lewis, this is a great opportunity for them. I'm sure it'll be a great fight. I think it's a little soon for Ciryl, if you want my honest opinion. He did have a great performance against Volkov, but still think it's a little soon. But hey, good for them. But, you know, at some point, a lot of these top guys and girls, they do find themselves at odds with the boss. Sometimes it lasts only a pay-per-view cycle or two. Other times it could last the whole year like it has with Jon Jones and Dana White with no end in sight. We don't know, but I'll say this. Whether you like certain fighters or you don't, I'm absolutely on the fighter side. I wish them the best. In this case, I certainly wish Ngannou the best. And it's about damn time these fighters get paid for real. If you enjoyed this update, like, share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications for more MMA updates like this. I just covered PFL 6 and Bellator MMA over the weekend. So if you missed those fights at all, I got post-fight interviews from all the latest events. So check them out in our MMA interviews playlist. Until then, folks, as always, enjoy the fights. And if you can get paid